And the same casting agency called me up 6.5 years later and was like, we have a perfect TV show for you. And they're like, we've wanted to call you every year about Biggest Loser, but you never totally fit the bill. But this one you do, and we need your we need your character, they said. Like, what the fuck is that?
I didn't know I had one. I'm just me.
To Barbell Shrugged. I'm Mike Butts here with Doug Larson, Anders Varner, and we're hanging out here at Deuce Gym in Venice Beach. If you're ever in LA, you should definitely drop in here because this is one of the coolest gyms that I've ever been to. They got stones, they got kegs, they got sandbags, they got all this shit that your gym probably doesn't have. So yeah, check it out.
Your gym sucks. This gym's awesome. Sorry, guys.
Our guest today is Adam von Rothfelder,
Hey,
and been wanting to get you on for a while. You're one of the best movers I've ever seen, and you're one of the best instructors on how to move. Like from the movement culture, whatever, you do the animal shit, all that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
You're one of those guys on Instagram that make us feel ashamed about our bodies. And I want to dig to your story a bit, and then just what you're up to. And, we worked out with you, and you had some coaching stuff for us.
Yeah.
That was pretty unique, stuff I never heard of, or I'd seen someone do at one point, but didn't really describe how it was done.
Cool.
Yeah. Every time we train together, you always have cool like animal flow type stuff. I know you worked with Ido Portal for a period of time, and it's always unique stuff that we don't get with other people. So it's very fun for us to come up here and do some shit that we don't do on a daily basis.
Yeah. And I mean, in movement, like Ido was just such a sprinkling of it. I mean, so much of when I think of like animal flow, I'm almost thinking most of my movement came from this culture. It was cultivated in MMA. Mm-hmm. So it was how to move and evade and roll out of something and get my hands up as fast as possible so I can defend the attack. So it becomes animal-like because that's one of the things that we can compare it to the most.
We are animals.
We are animals. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of wrestlers, a lot of grapplers, MMA fighters that get into the animal flow stuff because it just seems to make sense. Like
totally.
The crossover is so high.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then Gymnastica Natural, was a big start to that. And, with the Gracies doing these kind of ground flow movements. And, Mike Fitch, who does animal flow, is, an amazing mover. And, I mean, the list could go on and on. Rafe Kelly, there's a lot of great guys that are doing some amazing stuff out there that is unique and individualized and totally accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I want to get into your background. First, we're going to mention our sponsors, first being Organifi.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I love Organifi.
Yeah. What do you...
Dude,
the green juice?
Yeah. They I was like, yo, I need to try some of this. I'm a big believer. I have been for a long time about, supplementing with vegetable proteins as much as possible. And Organifi honestly has the most delicious chocolate protein on the planet. I mean, and it mixes so well. Like usually like a plant-based protein is kind of gritty.
Yeah.
And it's so smooth. A little peanut butter, a little banana, a little ice, a little goat's milk or almond milk, whatever, boom.
Dude, you're making my job so easy right now.
Sorry.
That's awesome. No, take it.
You use the coupon code? No, I'm just kidding.
Actually, shrugged.
Yeah. No, I was kidding.
Yeah, you shrugged for 20% off.
Yeah, totally.
You got 20% off, shrugged.
And that's not bullshit. I take that every day. I'll even throw a photo up on my Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Make sure that they speak the truth.
There you go. And then also we have Thrive Market, which we just came from.
Yeah, they're like right down the street.
They're right down the street. Hung out with Gunnar and had a really nice conversation. I liked what they were doing beforehand, and I've been a member of Thrive Market for a couple years now, but talking to him today made me want to support that business even more.
Totally. Me too. I mean, they actually supported me. I mean, they paid me to come in for a month and do group fitness classes, and like these movement classes in the park. And I mean, any startup that's putting dollars into their corporate wellness program at that stage, I mean, shit, they got my vote. That's a good way to cultivate, an amazing company that'll probably be along for a really long time.
It's nice when you have a company that you really like, and then you meet the owner of it, and you're like, oh, now I love this place.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's got such a cool name.
Yeah.
Gunnar.
Yeah.
Lovelace.
Yeah. Lovelace.
crazy-
Gunnar Lovelace. Yeah, like what a pimp.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you want, was it
Thrive Market.
thrivemarket.com/shrugged, get a special deal, $60 worth of groceries, free shipping, and
Free 30-day
Free
membership.
30-day trial.
I didn't get that.
It's a
I want that. I'll have to get that
You're
from
gonna make
you.
some phone
I'll get
calls.
that code. Yeah.
I
Send him
got
the
the
link.
special link.
Send him the link.
I'll text it to you after the show.
Yeah.
Super
Thanks, Rob.
secret.
Super secret. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Adam, where do you come from?
Man, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I was born and raised right in the Midwest. I spent first 26 years there. Just doing the Midwest thing, freezing my ass off in the winter and hoping for longer summers.
You didn't even know a place like LA existed.
Yeah, I mean,
I figured you were a SoCal native, personally. I had no idea.
Oh, thanks.
It
I
fit
take that as a
well.
compliment.
You should. You fit in here.
Yeah,
Just enough asshole to make it.
This guy's really pulling this. LA sounds perfect.
Sure, you're not from Hollywood.
right. Yeah. Damn it, you got me. That's like Homer Simpson, like the next day with the comeback. I was growing up in Milwaukee, and I had a really interesting, exposure to. My brother was 13 years older than me, and I'm listening to NWA, I'm watching Endless Summer, I'm getting into this whole like 70s kind of 80s culture and seeing this, and I remember probably like my 10th birthday asking for a subscription to Surf Magazine, Trans World Surf. And I mean, I'd never even seen an ocean before. The first time I ever saw an ocean, I was 22 years old.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? Lake Michigan looks like an ocean. I mean, you couldn't really tell the difference. I mean, people surf Lake Michigan all the time. Sheboygan actually is pretty well known for like longboard surfing. People travel all up there and they surf in the wintertime with total like cold suits, and they got their
wow.
I mean, there's some big waves out there. I owned a gym in my hometown. I got to see these the Coast Guard, the actual centralized like where they're monitoring everything, every buoy, everything, and they were showing me that they have like 25, 30-foot waves in the middle of Lake Michigan.
Dang, really?
Oh yeah,
I have a good friend that won the surf competition that they have there every year.
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's cool.
He walked in, and he was one of our coaches at my gym, and you like half hire him to be your surf coach, and the other half the time, like, let's coach some fitness. And I was like, dude, where'd you learn how to do this? You're from Wisconsin. He was like, yeah, hopped on a surfboard in the middle of the lake and won a competition. Thought I was pretty good at this.
Yeah. There's some big waves surfing in Lake Michigan. Who knew? So yeah. So
Put another stop. I can't talk.
that'll happen.
Another stop on the list.
Yeah.
This is Sheboygan.
Yeah, that's Sheboygan, which is about like 45 minutes an hour away from Milwaukee, somewhere around there.
You owned a gym there? Is that what you said?
Yeah. So I grew up in Milwaukee, and I had an older brother, who passed away, and that's kind of, in many ways, that's kind of what I say, like where my tale starts. That's the if you look at like a hero's journey, that's kind of the tragedy that created the hero's journey. If we're all on a journey and we're all heroes, which I believe we are. So I had an older brother, and I have two older sisters, and then I have a little brother who's adopted, who is a paraplegic that we adopted when he was 1 year old, and he's 22 years old now. So I grew up in a house where, my mom, I swear she had like I don't know if Mother Teresa complex is a real thing, but if it is, she has it. And, I had foreign exchange students and foster siblings and random pets that my mom would nurse to health. And, so it was really interesting. I was always surrounded by the health and wellness world of some sort because my mom was a nurse. And then my other sister became a nurse. And then my other sister became a nurse. And then I went to nursing school. So, I was 21 and I was going to nursing school. I had been playing collegiate soccer and found out my brother was having issues with alcohol, and I dropped out of school at the time, which I was going to school for nursing, and I started working for him as a construction worker, and which I had done almost every summer since I was 12 years old. And I thought of it as like my brotherly duty to, pull in the reins or something, right? So started watching them, and things went south. But during that time, I actually applied for a union electrician apprenticeship. And I was working construction, I was doing some personal training on the side, and I got this union electrical apprenticeship. And about 1 week before the apprenticeship started, my brother passed away from a drug overdose. So I was at 22 years old, and I heard an ad on a radio for the Milwaukee Rumble, which was the Wisconsin. It was like this show that traveled around, and these guys just all out 1 minute brawl rounds of, just there's no sanctioning. It doesn't matter what experience you have. Just come in and beat the shit out of each other.
Like the old tough man competitions?
It was the tough man competition.
Okay.
But they had to rename it they had to rename it.
After they got sued.
Yes. They had to rename it different names, like the X Rumble, the this Rumble, the that Rumble.
Yeah.
So I went in and signed up after, hearing of my brother's passing and going and seeing the situation, and signed up for the fight. And 2 weeks later, I fought my first fight. That I didn't really think it was going to be like more fights after that, but I didn't win the tournament, and I promised my brother that I would. So I came back the next year and cleaned house, and so that's when I started thinking about getting out of Milwaukee. So I think that's that's when shit got real, because I started getting approached by people, and MMA was at its infancy in some areas. Like, it was just getting sanctioned, and this was 10 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that. So it as it got popular, now it's like everybody's been training since they were like 10. But I mean, I got into it at 22 doing jiu-jitsu, and I had martial arts experience prior to that, but it was all taekwondo and karate, and gymnastics type shit.
Not fighting.
Yeah, not fighting. I mean, I never fought a day in my life. And the first guy I fought, man, I felt bad for him. I mean, I fractured his orbital with 16-ounce gloves.
Yikes.
I mean, I knocked him out in 15 seconds. He put his hands up. I literally stuck my left hand over his hand, and I just like unleashed something that I didn't even know was inside of me at the time. I mean, that was scary.
So how do you get? That was your introduction to fating. Was that your introduction to conscious movement, or is this something that?
No.
From there?
Yeah. So I mean, I think I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, most kids that grew up in the 80s, they saw Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone and muscle magazines, and I wanted to be jacked. I wanted to be huge. I mean, Jay Cutler to everybody. Like, I was looking at the muscle magazines. The internet was booming, and I'm like Googling steroids just because I just want to know what the hell they are, because like I'm interested in anabolic activity, because I'm like reading about how protein synthesis does this, and just whatever I could absorb at the time is really where a lot of the movement began. And I remember reading something about Dave Draper and putting your mind in the muscle. And that was something that really resonated with me, because I wasn't the strongest kid. I wasn't the fastest kid. But I had this incredible imagination and ability to visualize things and see pictures. So I would look at pictures of anatomy by the age of 12. And I would do bicep curls and chest presses and squats and deadlifts in my bedroom with this 65-pound rusty barbell that I got from my Uncle Bill, who passed away like the year prior. And he left it to me in like 2 little hand weights. And so that's kind of where, this thought process of like looking at it intelligently actually started really young. And I was fortunate enough to have parents that made me work for my money. And I had a paper out, and I hired a personal trainer. And he was an Olympic weightlifting coach for Dan Jansen and Bonnie Blair at the Milwaukee Pettit National Ice Center. Those are 2 Olympic gold medal speed skaters that came from Wisconsin. So Dan Wiktorek is his name. He still coaches today. And he was probably still to one of the smartest men I've ever met when it came to the subject of movement. And he made me do certain Oli movements, and he made me, before I could even lift weight, I had to do 15 pull-ups, strict, chin to bar. Chest to bar, scapular retraction, all these things, and I'm like processing by the age of 13. Then through, a series of, hard hits in soccer and some, shit and, benching too much weight and throwing around too much weight. As I was fighting, I go through my years of fighting, and I trained with some massive dudes. From Brock Lesnar to Brett Rogers. I was at Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, sparring with, literally heavyweight champions, and Matt Hughes and Sean Shirk, like the names that I was rolling with and getting blasted with and blasting back. And it wore on me because I didn't have the technique. I had this athleticism because I put so much in it from 12 to that age, of just like understanding the craft of being more intentional in my movement to become a better athlete with isolation or understanding angles or whatever it was. And right when I won a tournament for a Strikeforce contract, 3 days later I separated my shoulder. And it was the first serious injury I'd ever had. And, I lost my brother, and that's like what sparked a lot of it because I had this anger. And the minute my shoulder snapped, I like woke the fuck up. And I was literally like, where the fuck am I? Like I was with somebody I didn't want to be with. I'm living in a city I don't want to live in. Like I'm living in Minnesota now. It's cold all the time. Like I'm trying to say it's great, but it's only great because the training's great. Everything else about it is just not for me. Nothing wrong with Minnesota people. It's beautiful 2 months out of the year. But it's balls cold. And through that injury, I started meeting some really interesting people. And through the guys that I helped by letting them beat the shit out of me, I met some really interesting people in the fight world and in the sports performance world at kind of a young time before the social media was, showing us who to follow or who to listen to, right? And I found this guy named Jay Schroeder. You guys ever heard of him?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I've heard.
So he did this thing called ARPWave.
Gotcha.
And what it was is they would find the source and the reference, and they worked with a guy named Adam Archuleta. Do you remember that name?
Oh, yeah. NFL player.
Yeah, from ASU.
Yeah.
So this kid was 5'11", 182 pounds.
I actually know him because his some of the stuff he did in the weight room was actually super, super impressive.
5'11", yeah. He would just...
I know more about his training than I do about his football
NFL,
career.
not at all.
I mean, on like single lifts and overall athleticism, I think to this day he was probably one of the most impressive combine athletes that ever stepped into the combine. I mean, like 5'11", 185 pounds, running like a 40 and 4.2, squatting 500 pounds, bench pressing 425, like 36.5-inch vertical, like crazy. And there were all these amazing techniques that they were using under high amounts of electrostimulation that helped like source and reference and like get the right fire patterns and all this type of stuff. So they started using this on me to correct my shoulder because I thought I still wanted to fight. And then I realized, over time I really didn't. And but that's kind of where the training picked back up for me to dive into something completely new. So, I'm 28, I retired from fighting, and I moved back to Milwaukee. I got a call that my dad was diagnosed with cancer. I was literally on set shooting a commercial. It was the first job I booked in California because I was like, I got to find a way to make money. I can't fight. I don't want to be a fucking waiter. I'm not the tragic tale here. Like, this is not happening. So I moved back home and got a job.
I feel like that's the opposite of what most people do, by the way. Like, you came to California, you're like, I don't want to be a waiter. I guess I'll do TV.
Yeah.
They do the opposite. They're like, I'm going to go do TV, and then they end up being a fucking waiter.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I did it backwards. It was like winning the Super Bowl the first time out. So
what made you?
Yeah, interrupt me. Like, I don't mean to. I want to hijack the show.
What made you think to even do TV? Because I think most people aren't thinking,
yeah,
well, TV's an option for a job. Yeah.
So I was dating someone in the fitness world that is
There
you
it
know,
is,
yeah.
folks. Yeah, it always comes down to a chick.
Her agent was like, "You're totally perfect for this role that they're looking for in this ab commercial." And I was like, I could use $6,000.
I've been training for this my whole life. You have no idea.
Like, you're gonna pay me to have a six pack? Like, I've been doing it for free forever.
Someone finally saw it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it was huge. It was $6,000 for.
You just undid like 200 shows of us trying to tell people not to worry about that. Now you're telling them they can make money with it.
Yeah. Well, it's such a rare scenario. And I mean, the funny thing is I'm not somebody, nor have I ever been somebody who like sat there and did crunches. I'm not training for aesthetics. It's always been more like I wanted to be faster and stronger. And then I always wanted to eat better because I had really bad ADD. So, and then eating for ADD made me leaner, and then like the byproduct was this like.
What's eating for ADD look like? Is that just no sugar?
Low inflammation foods, and just no refined sugars. Just if I fast, I am socially a little like high wired. If I'm like in a fasted state, like I'm a little too.
You fasted all the time?
Yeah.
Every time I meet you.
I know, man. I got a lot of energy, but if I'm fasted, I'm too laser focused. So it's like I kind of need to eat a little something in the morning.
Slows you down.
Yeah, it kind of slows me down a little bit. I mean, a little bit of weed every once in a while helps out too, So
that's why the show is where it's at right now.
Yeah.
Right, so
eating a little something every once in a while?
No. So what was where did we leave off before I derailed you with the ADD? You're talking about eating for ADD, and I did an ADD.
Yeah. So I mean, the modeling, the commercial. So I got the commercial through just knowing somebody, and they were like, hey, blah blah blah. And, I mean, I had auditioned through it. I didn't like just get it, but it was kind of an interesting thing that happened there because when I was fighting, there was a moment in that time where I remembered when I was a kid wanting so bad to be a stuntman and to like be an actor maybe, and that was kind of something that I had a lot of dreams about when I was a kid. And when I started being around some of these people that were like in movies, right? Like when some of these MMA fighters started getting in movies, all of a sudden I'm like, yo, this could be a thing. And I didn't know that my training and my, thirst for fitness was going to be what would put me on TV eventually, or get me out there in some manner. But the ab commercial was kind of what started it. And then I moved back home. I wrapped up the commercial, and I remember I stopped in Vegas and partied for a night. One of my buddies was there, and just silver bullet driving my Toyota Yaris all the way back. I think on one tank of gas too. And got to Milwaukee, and I remember seeing my mom and dad just shocked. I hadn't seen them in like 7 months, 8 months since I went to California, and I was like, I need a job, and I got a job as a doorman, which is where I met my wife. Nice. And and she was Araceli. Mm-hmm. Did you guys meet her?
I don't think I've met her yet.
No. We had dinner together. That was really nice. Yeah. So I met my wife there, and that's where I opened my gym. And that's a good one.
All of these stories, there's like a lot of loss in there, and you're kind of lost all at the same time, and it leads to opening a gym. How are all of these kind of pieces changing your mind along the way, and where are you figuring out like? Where are you going in this? Like, is there a clear direction? Because you've seen a lot of things and dealt with a lot of things that most people don't have to deal with, and you were under 15 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I mean, I was just at an audition in New York City yesterday, and if I have some bags under my eyes, it's because the flight was delayed like 3 hours and didn't get home till like 2 a.m. Still woke up for 6 a.m. for my client, and. Through that time, through that question, they asked me, like, how do you handle stress? And I was like, well, when your perspective of stress is completely changed at a young age, well, then you tell me what you think is stressful, and, I promise you, I've seen something worse. And, a lot of us have. I'm not special in that manner, but I do know that out of all my friends, it's like I've definitely seen some crazy shit, and I think through it all, you know, what kept me going was when I gave my brother's eulogy, I had man, if I tried giving a speech any day before that in school or anything, I would shake. I had like this tremor in my voice, my leg would shake. I was just not good in front of people like that. And I knew that I had to be that guy. I knew I had to be strong. I knew I had to move forward. I knew I had to keep pushing. And I knew that like my parents were going to be worried about me even more so than ever, because now that my brother was gone, I was their only son, and like so I just knew, and I just never looked back. It didn't matter what the fuck happened. You know, if you win and you lose, no, it's like you win and you learn. And I just kept on learning from these losses and from these crazy moments in my life, from you know, winning a tournament, to a contract, to separating my shoulder, to my dad passing, to my brother, you know, all these things that kept going on. I just knew that there was something greater. There was like a greater purpose, and there was something so much more out there. And I mean, and I maybe I can attribute a lot of that to, you know, I started smoking weed when I was young, and I kind of saw like a bigger picture at a young age. And I saw, you know, I went to Africa and I saw these, you know, only 5 to 6 years earlier, there's complete genocide of 500,000 people. And now these Hutus and Tutsis are completely cohabitating and friendly.
Yeah.
And like, what are we holding on to here? You know, through all the things that we've all put each other through on this continent. You know, so I just kind of started seeing things as, you know, my problems aren't that big.
Yeah.
You know,
You're saying weed helped you see that differently.
Yeah, man, for sure.
I find it does that for some people, but not others.
No, I mean, it could definitely cloud you. Yeah. I mean, I'm not like condoning it, and I'm not saying it's something that, you know, is for everybody, but it definitely helped me during certain times, you know, during my life, just to kind of understand and see things just a little differently.
Yeah.
And
no, I have the same experience.
Yeah.
And I know some people go, really, I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
So like, for me, in certain situations, it is like medicine.
Right. I think the problem with them is they're trying to get it.
That's
right.
No, that's very common, actually. I just
So
had a conversation with
they're
somebody
trying
the
to
other day.
get
They
it.
were like,
It's like,
every time I do it, I don't get it. I'm like, oh, you totally missed the point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Anyways.
yeah. So so yeah, I mean, I kept moving forward, and there was this life motto that I said one day that just stuck, and it was "earn the day." And I have it tattooed on my finger, but through the years of working out, it kind of wore off. But "earn the day" to me was,
it's almost more fitting now.
Yeah, it is. Yes. yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I didn't fix it because I do like the way that it's wore off, you know. You know, "earn the day" to me was tomorrow's not inevitable, right? And these actions that I take today, it's, you know, I'm going to just do my best. I'm going to work my hardest. I'm going to, you know, call people that, like, didn't I just call you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like, and that was just to say hi. Like, I just want to call people, you know, just to connect with people, just to let them know that, like, they're being thought about, or, you know, that they're valued as people. And I think that's important. And that's, you know, just really helped me move forward. And, you know, thank God for my wife. And, you know, the greatest saviors of all, my children. You know, 4 years ago when I had my daughter, it was 3 months before my dad died. And, man, that was insane. The highest high.
Yeah.
You know, like becoming a father, to this lowest low of losing a parent. And losing a parent was so much harder than losing a sibling. And to me, I mean, not everybody's situation is different, but it was very different for me. And my dad and I, we had like a rough relationship. But then when I built my gym up, I hired him as my maintenance guy, and to like work together. And we like built 3 gyms over the course of 3 years through the growth of that gym. So
yeah, there's a lot of introspection, and it pushes you kind of in the movement piece. So
yeah,
you'd go across the country, and now you're training with Ido.
Yeah. So now
across the world. Sorry.
So no. This is actually where that exactly comes in. So my brother, my dad passes away, and I had this emotional release, and this manifestation of just immense pain, the emotional anguish that I was going through, right into my neck, my C5, C6. I woke up one day and I literally couldn't move. couldn't do a pull-up, couldn't do a push-up, couldn't even kiss my wife because the idea of puckering my lips hurt everything. The day before, I did nothing that would do that. Like nothing. It was just like and you're fucked. You know, like it was just like, and everything you didn't deal with, there it is. You know, you thought you were tough 8 years ago and your brother passed. Should have handled that. You know, whatever it was. Yeah. You know, it was like, you know, you can't just move past things. You got to deal with them too.
Right.
So that was an interesting lesson. So I did a GoFundMe, and my clients and some friends paid for me to go to Thailand, where I trained under Ido. And 2 months prior to that, I went to Toronto and I trained under some of his people as well. And we started doing these cervical movements and these neck slides and all these great things and stuff that I actually was naturally good at, because there's a little secret about me is that I like to pop and lock. I like to dance.
There was no secret. We called that as soon as we walked in.
Oh, yeah.
Smell it.
You're like, this guy likes to boogie. Yeah. So the minute they're like, oh, yeah, you just do this. And I'm like, you know, and I'm like, oh, shit. Like that. So 2 days later of doing
got
that.
this neck thing.
Yeah, I'm like, hey.
He taught me the neck thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he got me going. Now I impress my friends with it. Took me about a year to get it.
Right on, brother.
Yeah.
So you know that neck thing kind of
2 days, 1 year, you know, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But I mean, it opened up everything, and I started connecting all my martial arts back together, because I now was no longer overly concerned with, you know, pushing more weight, right, or whatever it was. I was now more concerned with controlling my body even on a higher level. And I mean, like, I'm, you know, I have a, you know, even today, like I just did a vertical check and I still had like a 34 inch vertical. Like I have a, you know, I'm 5'11" with a 36 inch vertical and 205 pounds, and and I'm moving like handstands and all these things. And I was kind of the odd man out at Ido, because all these guys are like 160 pounds.
Yeah.
You know, 165 pounds. I mean, Ido's like this big, you know, 145, 150 pounds. You know, so it was definitely interesting getting into that world. So I couldn't do their game. I had to do my game, because that game like was too much impact on my wrist, my neck. Like when I started getting too much in inversions, my neck started bothering me. So I started rethinking movement. Like a handstand is a good transitional tool. You know, I don't think it's a move that we necessarily have to like hold, as so much as it is a good way to understand that you can pivot off a hand or off of two hands, you know, like a mini cartwheel or whatever it is, that you have the strength and the control to do that. And if you're like, say, in mid-movement, you have to change directions, you can kind of like, you know, and go the other way. So I started connecting all this stuff for myself, and I trained with Rafe Kelly, who, you know, if I didn't mention him, I'd be a total asshole. I mean, he was really got me kind of more into nature. So, you know, owning a gym, I found myself kind of stuck in there, and I started having these feelings that movement, if I increase my movement capacity, my emotional capacity would increase as well. And it was helping me handle the stress and take in the love. I mean, to be a new parent, not of one kid, but of two in 15 months after everything has happened, like losing your dad. And, you know, I had to be accepting of love. And I felt closed from all the years of fighting and sitting in this position and being under attack. And I started having these intuitive thoughts before, you know, this stuff was even being talked about, you know, where I was listening to it or seeing it in any way. I mean, I'm living in Wisconsin, and I'm like, man, I think fascia holds trauma. I feel like there's like the tissue inside my body, and I thought I had cancer. You know, because I started freaking out because my dad died of cancer, right? And my brother died at 35, and I'm like 32, and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die, man. Like, like shit, man. I got cancer too now. Like all this shit hurts. Like what's going on? You know, I thought I had like some weird necrotic issue or something that was happening to me, and I just realized it was just all the years of trauma, the hard slide tackles that I was known for in soccer, the fucking just hard kicks that I threw that would, you know, hurt me, but it hurt them so much more. You know, whatever it was, there was just so much trauma that was internal. So I started doing it external, and I started doing ballet. You know, I started, like I have a bitchin' pirouette. You know, like, you know,
that's the first time I've heard that.
I have a great suit and new. You know, like I like to do, you know, the arm movements. You know, it's for me, it feels good to move like that.
There's, I mean, pumping iron to begin with starts with Arnold in there, but I mean, even like the old Russian hockey team, like all those guys used to do that stuff. They would maybe add weights to it and stuff, but there's so much balance and just movement principle in there that it transfers to everything.
Right. Well, and martial arts is very internal, right? So like when you throw a punch, you want to internally rotate that thumb. So one, you get more torque, just like you would with like a press. And two, you carry the movement that actually starts in the leg over to the hand, and you just let it snap out, right? So everything's internal, kicking, kneeing, whatever it was. So then doing something that was external was crazy. I was like, whoa, mind blown. Yeah. You know, I mean, it was very different, and it felt so good to open up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've even, you know, seen studies and people talk about like just changing your posture, being more open, produce more testosterone.
Oh yeah,
things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're always in this position, if you're always trying to protect your chest and your head.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about all the you know, the physiological things that happen within that super physiological things that happen within that physiological, you know, where it's now your breathing is changed. You're now, you know, going parasympathetic, or you know how you start basically just restricting your breath. And that's going to cause stress to your system, which is going to raise cortisol, which is going to decrease testosterone. Like, I mean, it's all going to feed into one another. So I, you know, got a little bit more open, and it helped me out a lot, you know?
Yeah. Let's take a break real quick.
Yeah.
Come back. I want to talk more about ballet.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the show. If you'd like to learn more about how to improve your snatch, clean, and jerk, we have a free 55-page ebook you can get at flightweightlifting.com. It has sample programming specifically for weightlifting, weightlifting how-to technique videos, and other tips on how to improve all of your lifts. Go to flightweightlifting.com and you can download that ebook for free.
Download it now. And we're back with Adam. And so how did you get from ballet to California?
Yeah.
Were you taking ballet in Milwaukee?
A lot of pirouettes. No, yes. So my original gym that I opened, I had the 6,000, you know, at the end it was a 6,000 square foot group fitness studio called Drench Fitness Boutique. And it was a really cool system of like 8 treadmills, 8 TRXs, 8 boxing bags. And I cycled people through these hard, intense training programs, and that were like mimicked like fight training and all different stuff, and kettlebells, and no conventional stuff at all. It was all unconventional for like 6 years. And after I got casted, in a 2-month time period during the last years of Drench, I had been doing live TV stuff for the news on a regular basis, so I really started doing a bunch of things on TV, doing workout tips or recipes that on the local NBC channel. And it all kind of circled back. So 7 years, or, you know, 6 years earlier, living in California with that agent that got me that job through that ex-girlfriend, had me audition for Biggest Loser one time 6.5 years ago. And the same casting agency called me up 6.5 years later and was like, we have a perfect TV show for you. And they're like, we've wanted to call you every year about Biggest Loser, but you never totally fit the bill. But this one you do, and we need your we need your character, they said. Like, what the fuck is that?
I didn't know I had one. I'm just me.
I'm just an ordinary guy.
He doesn't even know.
Yeah.
He's aware now.
Shit. That's how they see me. So I got in you know, so my dad had passed. You know, I got 2 kids. My neck's not hurting anymore. I'm feeling good. I'm training hard. You know, I've got a really good training program going. And in the span of 2 months, I got booked for a huge Versace shoot, which me and Gigi Hadid made out, and she punched me in the face as part of the thing, and it was like a part of the thing, and she literally had to hit me because of the camera shot that we were having. She hit me so hard that my cheekbone actually bruised, and she like hurt her finger on one of the shoots.
That modeling wife.
Yeah, man.
No joke.
It was kind of
really challenging.
Well, they're like, Adam, do you mind?
Yeah.
They're like, do you mind being hit by her? And they're like, we wouldn't ask any of the other guys. We just we know that you actually. We're like, we know that you actually fought. They're like, we know you actually fought. So would you mind taking a couple licks from her? And I was like, nah, man, whatever. I just don't turn them all the way over. And I just took a couple of like bare knuckle punches to the face for this Bruce Weber shoot. They ended up not even using the damn scene. And I'm like, yo, you need to send me that shit so I can at least see it. And then I got a call for Strong. So NBC, I was one of the 10 best trainers on the planet, whatever the NBC said. And, I mean, whether I'm one of the best on the planet, I don't know, but I know that I'm really passionate and I really love what I do and I have a unique approach.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Are they really gathering the top 10? I mean, I know you're good, but what about these other 9?
They're all going to hear this. They're great. No, you know what? I mean, okay, here. This is the thing. I'll yeah.
Out of 10, how many are you hiring at Drench?
How many am I hiring at Drench? I would say 2.
There you go.
Out of 10, I would hire 2 at Drench, or I would trust 2 with maybe my programming, in some sense, right? I mean, one of the guys couldn't even cross a set of fucking monkey bars. I mean, and I'm not to say that like your physical characteristics, show what your knowledge is, but this show was a trainer / we had to compete, right? So I get on the show.
Well, here's the thing. I think if you're a trainer, then you have a duty to be fit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you certainly should be, unless you have like, unless you're just a total cerebral trainer, and maybe you have something like that trainer I was telling you that trained me, Dan Wiktorek. He ended up having a stroke, and he can't really.
Well, that's a different story.
But now he can cue it and he can teach it without really needing to do it anymore. He can just do a bar, but he can't load it with weight anymore. Yeah. But I mean, I know.
He has a real reason.
Right. He has a real reason. I mean, the thing is we're very confused in today's market where social media is like an indicator of knowledge, and we are confused that following is directly related to how good they are as like a trainer or something, right? So we see some guy with rippling abs and a huge chest on Instagram. We're like, that guy must know so much. Like, I'm totally going to buy this $149 program from him, and it's, some bullshit hypertrophy workout with some massive amount of caloric intake with, and, whatever it is, and you're not on the right amount of steroids for it to even work. Whatever.
Well, there was a conversation we were having the other day. I don't remember who it was with. The difference between authority and credibility have gotten completely blurred.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's what happened here, because they were looking for people who had following. Like, I had the lowest following. I had the smallest resume. Like, they all, like, I train, Tom Cruise, or, I own, this big CrossFit gym in, LA. It's this, I that, whatever it is, there's this thing that they had that was this kind of celebrity feel.
Yeah, I just want to point this out because I think people get confused.
Yeah.
I have talked to a lot of people who watch Biggest Loser, and they're talking about what's going on, and I've seen some of it, and I'm like, don't do that.
No, I mean...
And don't do it like that if you're going to do it.
No.
Yeah.
So one of my biggest things is positioning. There's a great saying from jiu-jitsu is, position over submission. Like, never give up your position for a submission, right? And unless you totally have it, right? Well, I think that so many trainers allow this like position, or they themselves don't even understand the position, where they're using like a TRX and their butt is completely dumped out, and they're doing like tricep presses, and they wonder why they have lower back issues. And this is the kind of stuff that like I saw on the show. And I'm not to say that some of these guys don't have great knowledge about certain things. Like, Leon is a great boxing coach. I don't know, like, what his other knowledge is, so I can't like speak about it, but he's a really great boxing coach. Or, Kai was a really good Pilates instructor, or like somebody was a really good CrossFit coach. But that doesn't mean that you're going to make the greatest change and the greatest impact because you have the right amount of knowledge and the right amount of information to feed the person. When you look at all the contestants, I think what really speaks volumes is my contestant in the end is the one that stuck through it all. Like, she is in the best shape of all of them. She could do
after the show.
Oh yeah, because I gave her an understanding of a mindset. It's a behavior. It's not a result. Yeah. I told her, don't worry, the weight will come. Let's not compete for the weight. Let's compete for the win. And let me just keep giving you as much as I can knowledge-wise. I was making her hang for 3 minutes a day as part of her training, like doing all these things. I'm like, I'm going to strengthen your hands because you want to do pull-ups. Now she does 6 to 8 strict pull-ups. She's like deadlifting 320. Like she can move pretty well for a 44-year-old woman who went through menopause at 33 years old and was told that she would not have any weight loss from the show doctor. She has a six-pack.
Wow.
I mean, she lost 60 pounds and she has a six-pack. I mean, like, obviously the doctor didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, right? Like they said her hormones are off, and it's like I got her, I looked at her hormones and I got her on pregnenolone and DHEA just enough to kind of give her like a little bump up. Got her eating on point because she has what is it? Fibromyalgia. She has fibromyalgia. So she gets pain a lot. So I had to really like help her with her diet and her nutrition. And now she doesn't have the flare-ups and that she used to all the time. So I mean, I legitimately changed her life. I didn't just help her lose 40 pounds.
Where do you take somebody that clearly has a long way to go, and your background is in fighting people, ballet, Ido Portal? What are some of those entry-level steps where you really start to pump the education and just the basics? What does that look like on a program for someone like them?
Man, that's an awesome question because I have a really strong opinion on the idea of bodybuilding. I still believe that bodybuilding is the best entry point for 90% of the community. Yep. I think 90% of the community, even 3 years into their fitness, should still be bodybuilding. I did bodybuilding from 12 to 20. And when I say bodybuilding, I'm speaking of isolated hypertrophy movements, volume, switching volumes like 60% to 75%, dropping down to 40% for a deload week, but kicking the reps up a little bit, decreasing rest time, increasing tempos and tensions, playing with those things to elicit more muscle fibers, more neurological connections, your neural pathways, and it really understanding the movement and what's happening. So when I say stop pulling with your elbow when you're doing a scap movement, you understand where your elbow is from your asshole. Yeah. Because like if you don't, you don't. And that's like, that's where the disconnection is. People are like, oh, my shoulders hurt. It's like, yeah, or my wrist is hurt or my elbow's hurt. It's like, yeah, it's because your shoulder hurt. It's your shoulder's fucked, like whatever it is. Because everything you do, you're compensating or you're moving something that you shouldn't be moving. So I believe that bodybuilding is and I just kind of putting all that together in one big bag is bodybuilding and some good activation work. Something like FRC type work. We're just doing activation, functional range of mobility, joint articulation type stuff. Some of my clients, like I literally teach how to, pop and lock a little bit. I have this kind of theme in my workouts. It's like move, lift, fight. So it's like I move with you a little bit and we do some movements and like joint articulations, opening up the body. Then we lift. And then we do about 10 minutes of pad work or 10 minutes of parkour work, something that is applying what it is that we just did that comes full circle. And all of a sudden they understand why it's so important for them to understand how to hold a straight arm. Because now I'm teaching them like a parkour move that they have to like brace the arm and throw their body over the box and not bend the elbow. Yeah. Because they won't have enough clearance.
One of the big things you were talking about kind of in the weight loss and in the pain seems like a lot of people just struggle from just generalized inflammation everywhere in their body. Are you coming at that from nutrition with them? Is it breath work? What are some of the pieces that you implement into their programs to maybe just deal with some base level inflammation problems that I think everyone struggles with?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I'm always trying to get into somebody's mind that, if we can reduce sugars, refined sugars, grains, whether you're gluten tolerant or intolerant, whatever it is, grains still have, certain enzymes, phytic acid and xenoestrogens that, if we're not soaking our grains and, rinsing them and before we prepare them, whatever it is, our bodies aren't absorbing certain things, it's anti-nutrients, calcium, magnesium, zinc. And without those things, we're going to get more muscle tension. We're going to have different issues. So I think that if we can find a very low moderation, I kind of have this diet mindset that it's like a keto sport kind of style diet where I eat a certain amount of carbohydrates based off the amount of time that I worked out and the intensity I worked out, and I have a scale for that, how I do that. And I only place my carbs around my workout before and after, and then I have a small amount before I go to bed because I found that I sleep better if I have a little carbohydrates before I go to bed. So I eat right for my activity type. So if I'm really high volume, high intensity, I'll lift up my carbs a little bit, for longer period of time. If I'm not going very high volume, lower stress, oxidative type training, then I'll keep my fats higher, carbs lower, and go more for the metabolic effect of, just staying lean and preserving muscle with, the right amount of protein. So it's really about muscle preservation for me. I'm 36 years old and I haven't lifted weights hard and, this year has been really great, because we just moved to California, and it's brought some of the most amazing things that, I can't wait to talk about. But one of the things that it's brought is a lot of car time. So I'm not able to train as much as I used to. Yeah. And I have 2 little girls that, they really want their dad, and I really love my kids. I love my kids more than I love weightlifting, and more than like being better, like in that like manner. It's like, cause I could be better by being a better father. I don't need to just be better by bench pressing more weight.
Right.
Right. So it's like the narrative.
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How did you figure out that eating carbs before bed was something that was really valuable to you? I guess the obvious answer is you tried it and you just felt better, but was there a process there?
Yeah. When I fly, I take a little sugar bump like an hour before I get on a plane, and it helps me fall asleep because I get like an insulin spike. So because I'm kind of wired hot, it helps me to bump up my insulin just a little bit every once in a while so that I get a crash. And that crash helps me sleep deeper, and it works for a lot of people. I think that people who, I talk to a lot of people who do a lot of fasting and they find themselves restless at night, or they find themselves.
I find the same thing. Eat a little bit of carbs before bed. Helps me go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like people all the time. It's like, if you want to get tired in 20 minutes, eat sugar now.
Right.
And you'll be tired in 20 minutes.
Yeah. I do L-theanine.
And maybe not everybody, but that's been my experience.
Yeah. No, I do L-theanine, L-tryptophan, and a little chromium picolinate, and take a little carbs and, a little bit of protein together, and just in a drink or something to snack on, maybe walk to the donut shop with the kids and I'll take 2 bites of their donuts. Dad's got to try it first.
You don't need that.
Dad's got to try it first. That's what I always tell him. Dad's got to try it first and make sure it's not poisoned.
We'll know what happens to your 6-pack.
Yeah. I know, man.
So what happened to have a 6-pack?
So your training time these days isn't what it used to be. Like, what does your training look like when you're pressed for time?
Yeah, when I'm pressed for time, depending on how I train around how I feel. So if I'm not, if I'm a little sore, I'm a little, when you've been doing it long enough, you can feel like what's going to break before it breaks in some ways. Like you're like, if I train that, like that's not going to be good tomorrow. So I have 2 things that I do every week that are like standard. I do a 150 cal assault bike ride or row as fast as I can. And then I do a 300. And I try to beat the halftime of 150 per half. So like I try to beat that 300 time. So like I'll get my 300 down to like 19 or 20. And my 150 took like 11. So I'll try to beat it by like 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So whatever I did on 150 on like Monday or Tuesday, I try to beat that halftime on my 300 on like Friday. Something like that.
So you're on the assault bike twice a week.
Yeah, twice a week. or a rower. So if whatever I do on Monday, I have to do on the next day because it's like a mental game for me because I've never been like a big fan of cardio. But I love the sweat and the breath that starts happening, and it starts making me feel kind of that fight kind of feel. Then I will do I do scap work every day. Hanging scap work, elevation, depression, retraction, whatever I can do to get those scaps to move. Do some spine work. I have, some really good hip exercises that I've been working with. And then I'll warm up. So I earn the workout is kind of the way I have to think about it now. So if I have 30 minutes and I warm up, say I have an hour and it takes me 40 minutes to do my warm up, well, it's like I get a 20-minute workout. But no matter what, I'm doing the warm-up first. And I'll warm up for like 30, 40 minutes of good functional activation exercises. And then I'll just grab two things, like a heavy-ass sandbag and like a 220-pound sandbag, 225-pound sandbag. And I'll do 5 sets of 12 squats with, 400-pound sled push, 50 meters. And then like 4 dumbbell 80-pound snatches on each arm, rest 2 minutes, do it again, and I'll just do like 4 or 5 rounds like that, and then that's it. And then I do some accessory work. I find that, a lot of people are all like almost like bragging that they don't do biceps and triceps. Well, you're not going to be bragging when your elbows explode, right? So if, it's really cool now when you're younger or before you reach the volume I have, I tell everybody, like, I'm like your crystal ball, right? Because the 7-8 years of fighting that I did aged me to a higher level of like what it feels like. Like I feel like I'm 45 at times based off of the impact that my body has taken.
Well, there's age and then there's training age.
Right. There's age and there's training age. Right. And so I find that, doing like biceps a day and triceps a day keep the elbow doctor away. Like I'm just, high volume, 30 reps on rubber bands, tricep extension, it's just go for the pump. I'll throw even some BFR bands on, Katsu. Katsu's dope. It's these bands that you put on your upper arm or you also put on your leg. And it does
occlusion bands?
So occlusion is different than blood flow restriction. So the material and the pressure that it does is all through a machine that digitally calculates the pressure of your arm. And what it's doing is it's blocking the vein from carrying the blood out, but the artery is carrying the blood in. So one of the issues that we have behind muscle size and training volume is fascia restriction. So if you can pump the blood into the muscle at a greater rate with less resistance, you'll have less impact on the joint and you'll get the fascia to expand, making the muscle grow, also releasing a lot of IGF-1. So you can help your body heal through doing...
Can I get one of these for my penis?
Yeah, it's like a cock ring, I think. That's what they call it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you just pull the thing and release.
Never heard of that.
$2 at the store.
Yeah.
I got a couple of those.
Yeah, get the pull string, the pull release.
You got the one with a battery in it?
Yeah. So
Got a cape on it.
So little blood flow restriction training kind of speeds up the arm work. And that's about it. I mean, I'm lucky if I get a workout in like that, like 2 days a week, 3 days a week. And other than that, I eat as clean as I can, except for eating my kids' donuts and one pizza shared a week with me and my kids on Friday night. Yeah.
I feel like so many of us have so much fitness and training in our savings account.
Yeah.
And now we just try and let's get rid of all the problems that we caused. And there's just little things that you can do, and then push a sled. You're gonna be awesome. You don't have to do that
right
every single day of your life and feel like you're gonna die to still get where you're going.
No, and I mean, and sometimes I love a good 10-minute yoga flow too. I mean, like I love stretching my wrists, getting on the floor and just doing cat cow for 5 minutes and just feeling your breath and just letting your stress go. I mean, that's really what it's about. Getting into, I was telling you guys, I'm going back into martial arts and, it's been so long. I mean, when I left fighting, I left everything. Like I ain't touching shit. Like I didn't do jiu-jitsu for 7 years or like kickboxing at all, like Muay Thai, nothing and no training. So I'm going back to, Taekwondo to start taking my daughter and just so I can just move my body around a little bit more in different ways. That's not so, lift weights.
Yeah, that's a great idea for a lot of parents out there. I think a lot of times parents feel like they have to put their kids somewhere where they go to the gym.
Right.
But you could just go take a martial arts class.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to do CrossFit to be
of course
in shape. You can do other things.
No, I mean, martial arts, climbing, I mean, there's so many great options that you can get a child into that can give them real life skills and confidence that, that's what I try to do. Having 2 little girls, I really, I was telling someone the other day, I'm like, I raised them like boys so that like the equality of how everyone else treats them, it levels out. So I don't want them to be like raised like girls because I don't want them to think like that they can't do something because
I want to make them capable.
Yeah, I want to make them fully open to the idea of like, no, wrestling's not for girls. It's not for boys. It's for people.
Right.
And now I'm double legging you, and you ain't gonna say shit about it. And so I wrestle with my kids all the time. They love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you are moving into this next step, we've got some coffee going on.
Yeah. So we moved to California a year and a half ago, and I was working with XPT at the time, and they kind of put it in my mind to like come out here, and after NBC and everything, I was like, okay, let's do it. I sold my gym to my employees for the cost of the equipment. That was it. Just walked away, and they're still rocking over there. That's Commotion. It was called Como when I opened it, but they changed the name just a little bit. But it's a cool movement gym that they're trying to do in Milwaukee. It's a hard place to do fitness though. So unless you're selling Broughton beer, it's a challenge. But yeah, so I moved out to California, and I have I honestly I have to say my clients are the shit. I've met some amazing people out here. I trained the founder of Tom's, Blake Mikowski. A bunch of other great guys from like Joakim Noah to Ray Lewis. When they visit town, Mark Ballas. Just a bunch of amazing performers and athletes and entrepreneurs. John Durant, and through those relationships, through Blake, actually, I was introduced to a guy named Ben Goldhirsch. And Ben is the founder of Good Corp, which is a large organization that does fundraising, marketing for large corporations. And it helps raise money, so it's all about doing good in the world. And so it was my first training session with him. And I had literally just gotten back from San Jose's Fit Expo, and I was field testing this product. So 4.5 years ago, I started a company called Strong Coffee Company. It was a coffee shop in front of my gym that I was selling bulletproof coffee out of. And they're collagen and everything, but the margins were so low I couldn't afford the space. So I decided to bottle my own collagen and my own MCT, and I made certain blends where I took collagen and MCT and L-theanine and I combined it into a single product called Strong Cream. And then I had another product called Strong Sugar. That was coconut palm sugar mixed with, low-cal sugars mixed with things like Madagascar vanilla beans and bioactive curcuminoids. And then we had one that also had mocha and maca. So 4.5 years fast forward, I shut that business down right away because it was undercapitalized, or, we didn't have the right investor, all this type of stuff. 4.5 years later, I revisited the idea, and with new science and new thoughts behind it that I've been thinking about for the last 4 years, and watching kind of the market to be primed for it, where it was like if I was too early, I would be looked over. If I'm too late, I'll be last, whatever it is. And I feel like it's a great time to not only have a really great product, but a great brand that stands for something. That's not just something that's going to be delivering, some fitness, like whether it's fitness information, but really delivering with people's words and information and some strong words. So Strong Coffee Company was made possible. Ben is my investor and my business partner now on this journey. He actually just retired as the CEO from Good Corp to take this on, and we are fucking stoked. I mean, what the product is first of all, if you follow Strong Coffee Company because we're going to be doing a really amazing giveaway and brand launch over the course of the next couple of weeks. And, there's going to be an opportunity to get some really dope prizes and your supply and lifetime supply, actually, of Strong Coffee through some of these giveaways. And it's a 100% instant latte that is made from a cold brew powder. So it's 70% lower acidity. It's got L-theanine for it has a special anti-anxiety formula, an anti-inflammatory formula, and then a hydration formula, all within 15 grams of protein and 5 grams of fat, and all in a single powder. And we're doing vanilla latte, mocha latte, and cafe latte. And then we have a side product called Strong Cream, which is all the components of what the latte is made out of without the coffee, so you can just add it in your coffee at home.
Are these going to be individually packaged?
So
when I travel, I can just dump it in hot water? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so our initial launch, what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be doing bags for the initial launch, and there's going to be this cool like to-go thing that it comes with that allows you to take multiple days with you on the road.
Nice.
The good news about it is acidic is cumulative, right? So the more coffee you have, the more acidity you're taking in, changing your pH, right? So when you look at the coffee that we're making,
you got to put your coffee inside of a rock vortex.
yeah. Oh, that's cool with Paul Check.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
He knows.
Yeah. Ben Greenfield. I was just up at Ben Greenfield's house a couple weeks ago. I took my family on this dope road trip. Went to the Pacific Northwest, and drove up to Washington, and hung out at Ben's house, checked out his farm, then hung out at Nora Gagadius's house and ate paleo food with her, and talked about her new book, and it was a cool little trip. And he loved the coffee. He was like, "Dude, I feel insane." So one of the things that's really interesting about it is
I thought that was just Ben in general.
Well, we are using something very interesting that will make the coffee, a single cup of coffee lasts about 6.5 to 7 hours of energy.
Oh, wow.
So we're using a special technology that is microencapsulated energy. So it's like Adderall, that's timed release. It's a similar technology.
Figured it out. You figured it out. There it is.
Coffee that's like Adderall. You just sold everybody.
And that's so. There's a couple of people like Brittany Katau, who's like a well-known fitness figure girl, like one of these NPC girls that does the bikini shows, and she had a thing with Adderall, and she was telling me about when she tried the coffee that she was like, "Yo, where do I sign up? Like, how do I help you?" Get this out there. My biggest thing with making this product, it was kind of like, for me, what I wanted to do is I looked at the things that we're facing in our work day and what coffee is doing to us and how the two are compounding. So the anxiety, the stress, the dehydration, the inflammation. And I wanted to find a way to deliver that all in a single cup of coffee that gives you a value in which you're actually getting a meal at the same time. Because you sit at Starbucks or wherever it is, and somebody buys your coffee, and then they buy that coffee, and then they buy a Kind bar or whatever it is, and that's like bullshit protein. And
they try.
Yeah, they try. They're giving it a shot, but we're not trying to come from this scientific route. We're gonna have some great science. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon is actually going to be doing our
I like her.
Yeah, so she's a good friend of mine. She's going to be doing we have this Brains Meets Brawn is our blog, and she's going to be doing like the whole blog portion of it, and where she is going to be the hot doctor that explains why proteins and fats.
You got the right partner for that.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is she probably one of the smartest doctors I've met, in this kind of vitality, regeneration, muscle preservation field, but she used to be on the cover of Iron Man magazine, in a bikini, just rocking it, and she still looks great. So her and Anthony, her husband, are really good friends of mine. I just got a nice IV drip yesterday, some glutathione, all that biohack geeky shit that people love. I was like, yeah, give me whatever people come in for. I don't know.
I don't know if it works, but just do it.
Yeah. I just want to feel good. So this coffee is going to be available. And, one of the things that I'm trying to do with it that's really important to me is that the message behind it is what's really important. Is I want people to wake the fuck up, right? And I for so long as like in a sense, as like an individual that's a brand, you feel like you're restricted to not say certain things. Like you're on NBC, you can't say certain shit.
Yeah.
Like if I ever want to get booked again by X, if I mention the fact that like if they listen to this podcast, I'm like, oh, Adam's a stoner. Like, it's like now I'm not like this like wholesome American that
you dropped out of the top 10.
Right. I dropped out of the top 10.
Right away.
I'm now 11.
Good thing
Yeah.
we have YouTube.
Yeah.
Make TV
Right.
obsolete. I mean,
Exactly.
it already is, but they just don't know it yet.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, now with like Strong Coffee, it's kind of like a pent up situation that I believe has got a very current real life need where, there's a lot of people that feel misdirected and, what's going on between the government and, I don't even want to go into politics in any sense, but I think that people just need to be a little bit more aware of what's happening. And maybe that just means like it's symbolism in some sense that Strong Coffee is just to wake the fuck up. And you could also just consume it at the same time, so it's kind of like, yeah, you can drink it, and you also just need to, embody it. You need to.
Well, you have something else going on too. Is it?
Earn the Day. Earn the Day is going to be coming around in late spring. I am teaming up with some really great people, and we are going to be developing a create your own day thing, like program that basically allows you to structure your day so that you frame it around your recovery time, when you eat, and then you can basically figure out how long you have to work out for and what you want to target, and it will target the appropriate workouts for you. So it's a bunch of like 5-minute and 10-minute block sections that are going to be auto-populating into a workout based off of your parameters. So Earn the Day is something I've been saying for a long ass time, and I've been living it and preaching it. And Earn is real quick on it. It's like exercise, activity, recovery, and nutrition. So these 4 pillars that we need and how different exercise and activity is, and the recovery is sleep and rest and quiet time, like these things that we actually need, and how important nutrition is. We all understand that.
Yeah,
if you
that's
don't,
cool.
Then you shouldn't be listening to this podcast, or you should listen to all of them, all 300 of them.
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah. So that's it. I mean, I'm busy, man. I love it. I love California. It's been really great. I got to travel around with the Fit Expo this year. That was really fun. I love getting in front of people and just shaking people's hands and meeting them. And I love the energy of, the crowd. And, it's not even being like in front of people. It's being around people. That's what I love.
I mean, Anders actually saw you there at the LA Fit Expo. You were recording videos and running around. We were trying to chase you, and you were like running. You were recording videos, and you were running fast so we could catch you in the big crowds.
Come back!
Where are you going?
Yeah, they had me do some like interviews around on the floor on their Instagram, which was fun. Yeah, it's like the fitness world is a different world, right? Like it's very different than like this paleo world,
like the mainstream fitness world.
Yeah, like the mainstream, like
it's
the shit
weird.
that you see on like Muscle and Fitness magazine, right? Like the guy that's been on the cover 175 times, like that guy, that he's got a booth there, and literally everybody's like, oh my god, I want to meet you.
Yeah.
Like my friend Diego Sebastian is one of those guys. He's like been on the cover of like 100 some magazines. And he literally just has a booth, and people just want to meet him, and he gets paid to do this. And he's a good coach, I think. I mean, I can't speak for like how he is as a coach, but I mean, I don't know like what this fitness world is really feeding people, because when you look at like the products, oh man, like all the artificial bullshit that's in them, right? Like
it's all disguised health food.
Right. It's all disguised as health food, and that's like one of the strong values that Strong Coffee Company will have, is to like make sure that like the products are natural and that they're organic coffee and this and that, but we're trying to deliver coffee as a supplement, because really it is. It is.
When you go to one of those events and there's maybe 100 booths and like 98 of them are supplement companies, and you're like, something's going on here.
Something's
fishy.
Yeah,
it's super fishy.
Why are there so many?
And if you ask anybody about like sucralose or any of that type of stuff, they're like, oh, there's such a minimal amount in there. Like if you ask them about like red color dye number 29, whatever the fuck you people get like prostate cancer from, it's like, oh, there's no scientific proof about that. You know, it's
No,
like,
the
well,
same thing with artificial sweeteners.
like, why do you have to
they're
make
like, will you try out my supplement? And I'm like, oh yeah, let me look at it. I turn around, artificial sweeteners, not taking it.
Yeah.
Like, and then they think I'm the crazy one for not wanting to touch it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why is there citric acid in this? I mean, like, citric acid is really not good for you. You know, like, why do I need that? You know, like all these things, why are they in there? Just to make it taste a certain way, or it like masks a certain flavor that they're hiding. It's like, man, if this product really works, let me just take it, let it taste like shit, and let the results speak for themselves. Don't make it taste like fucking candy.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I go back and forth on it because I definitely take some stuff that tastes like it would taste like shit if I didn't encapsulate it. You know?
Yeah.
You know, like we got to put these in capsules at least. So, but yeah, using artificial sweeteners to do it. I mean, it is a funky thing because you got artificial sweeteners or you got to put sugar in it.
Right.
It's like one or the two.
Right. Do you ever?
But I don't think any supplement's worth either one of those.
No.
The sugar or the
No.
artificial sweetener.
Yeah. I mean, I take very little. I mean, like, I look back at the supplements and how much I used to take and
my
how much
God.
I take now. It's so funny. I mean, like,
I feel like I got to make up for all the shit. I'm like, oh, fuck. I put tons of bad shit in my body.
Totally.
I've got at least another 20 years of eating super clean.
right.
Every time you took NO Explode, you have to eat 10 vegetables.
Yeah.
To just get that year back in your life.
Got another dozen Cambo ceremonies set up this year. Just poisoned myself with frogs, so I throw up everything. Yeah.
You lick the toad or something?
No.
He's got to catch
Cambo?
it first.
Oh no, yeah, you got to catch the frog.
Yeah.
Then you tie up each one of its legs. And it's got to be a wild Amazonian frog. It's a very specific type. You tie up its legs in 4 directions, and you sing to it. And then as you sing to it, you get this venom off its back. And then you put the venom on the stick, and it dries. And then you let the frog go. And then you take a stick, and you light it on fire. And then you stick it in your skin. You sear a little hole in your skin. Then you take a napkin and you wipe off the skin. And then you wet the.
I can't tell if he's making this up or not.
Only the catching the frog part.
You wet the frog venom with your saliva. Then you put it on the burn, and then it just gets into your body. Your whole body just like starts burning, and you can feel it just pumping through your body. And then, you know, you may get a little look funny during this process, and you end up throwing up, purging for like 30, 45 minutes.
That sounds not awesome.
It's exhausting. And but you know what? The next day you feel like fucking Superman.
Interesting.
And they've actually got a lot of research on it. So there's like a lot of the compounds that are in. It's called Cambo. A lot of the compounds a lot of pharmaceutical companies are trying to figure out which compounds do what and then work it into medicine. But I say fuck it, just do the whole frog.
Yeah.
And it has to be it actually has to be wild caught Amazonian frog because. I say Amazonian, but it's I don't know the actual name of the frog. It's just from the Amazon. If you domesticate that frog, it stops producing the venom.
Wow, that's interesting. So where do you get this frog from?
There's like they're called Cambo shamans.
The frog guy.
And you call a guy.
If you
up.
lived in Encinitas, you would know.
I'll be in actually one of the best guys in the world in Sedona. I'm gonna go see him next in about 6 weeks.
That's amazing.
You should come join me. We can throw up together.
That sounds great. Will you hold my hair?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Excellent.
Only if we're gonna video.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember the first time doing mushrooms and the come up, and it was just like, and your stomach like literally started like tremoring and convulsing a little bit, and I was just like, what's going on here? And then it was like, hello darkness my old friend, you know, just like you're like do 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 do, you know. And yeah, that was it was funny. The first time I ever did mushrooms was after I lost my dad, and somebody was like, hey man, try it out, and I did it, and it was like literally like all of a sudden I was no longer grieving. Like 2 weeks later, it was like we had a conversation. I had a conversation with them at the river on mushrooms, and my dad was sitting there fishing, and I was like talking to him, and all of a sudden like after that it wasn't even like, oh, I'm sad about my dad. It's like, oh, my dad's doing some shit. You know?
Yeah, it's like you got closure and processed it, and you were able to move on.
Yeah. Because we just had this conversation in our minds, you know, in my mind, because I saw him, But I mean, it was just me needing to see what I needed to see.
Yeah.
And it's showing you.
I had a similar experience with ayahuasca.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
got to say goodbye to my dad.
Yeah.
In a way that I didn't get to previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame that the people that need the stuff aren't getting the real supplements or the real things that they actually need, and they're just being sold a lot of times a bill of goods.
Yeah.
And it's like how one trip could just take care of your life.
Yeah.
It's like, who knows?
Go to Peru.
One responsible trip.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said. Yeah. I mean, I'm again not telling anybody to go do something, but it's like if you obviously are somebody who is open to it and you need closure on something or you need to move past something, and you're not having a good time doing it. I mean, shit. Might as well give it a shot before you just waste the next 20 years of your life.
Actually, if you want to give it a shot, I'm gonna do a Medicines of Mexico retreat in September.
September, I can be down for that.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Can I bring the coffee? I'll bring the coffee.
You bring the coffee, and then
Free room and board if you bring coffee.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to open it up for people to sign up. So
Oh, sweet.
we'll be like about a dozen. I think we're going to do like a dozen people in Tulum.
Oh, dope.
So
Summit just was there. I saw like a bunch of people posting like that whole Summit.
Summit Series.
Yeah, the Summit entrepreneurial group.
Oh yeah.
They were down in Tulum.
Yeah.
So
Wonder what they were doing.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to go to Shell Han, go swim with some dolphins on, like jumping in the water.
Sounds
I
like
can
a
only
great
amazing.
idea.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm so glad you made it on the show.
Oh man, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. It's it was a little mini goal and dream 2 years ago when I was on Strong, and you guys contacted me back about my coffee mug, because like my coffee mug made it on Strong.
Oh yeah, I remember
and you
that.
guys posted
That's right.
the photo. Somebody screenshotted the fact that because I'm like holding this drop everything and train mug, and some asshole from the show stole it. However, you guys sent me a new one. And it was really. I liked how heavy it was. It was a really good coffee mug.
Yeah.
It had like a good weight to
biceps.
it. Yeah. I was like.
Oh, by the way, I want to mention this.
Only
You
the
also
best.
did one of our training programs.
I did
and you,
do flight.
And you bastardized it.
I did bastardize
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Well, we actually talked about maybe redoing it
We
like
did.
that,
You did,
which I
yeah.
think still would be cool.
Yeah. Can you find the fucking files?
I found them. They're on my wife's computer, and there's something wrong with the mouse right now. We're trying to figure out.
There's a mouse standing between us and the ultimate training program.
It was my heavy finger. It was like the computer wasn't moving fast enough, and I got a little mad, and
You just Hulk smashed
I
it.
smashed the mouse finger with my finger. Just bam! And I was like, oh, we'll just go get a mouse. So we hooked a mouse to it, but it's like the button is stuck down. So anything we pass over, it wants to highlight and open up.
Oh,
So yeah. So
that's a problem.
Trying to figure it out. But yeah, what I did was the flight program, which is a really great program.
It's a weightlifting program.
It's a weightlifting program.
Intended to be done with a barbell.
Right, and I did it all with a kettlebell.
Yeah.
Yep. So I did the whole thing with a kettlebell, and because I cannot do anything that causes any type of over hyperextension and cervical displacement, to clear weight or, so I don't do barbell snatches, but I love doing dumbbell snatches and kettlebell snatches or single arm barbell snatches.
Yeah.
But my arms being pinned together as like we're equal is not like a fair statement for my left shoulder.
Yeah.
It's like, don't put me in the same pool as the guy who's never been fucking torn in half.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, try that. Can you still buy the flight program?
You can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was an amazing program.
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
go
it
to
was like
flightweightlifting.com.
Yeah, it was like 365 days. I mean, it was like a whole. Wasn't it
I think
like
it goes longer
I think
than that.
I think we wrote it out till 18 months.
Yeah, I remember it was like I did a whole year of it.
Yeah.
And and the kettlebells worked great. I got strong as shit off of it too.
Since you told me that, I've been wanting to do it with kettlebells.
Well, you were like you lift heavy with kettlebells. I was like, yeah.
But I didn't want to have to like think, so I was just waiting for you to send me the program.
Oh yeah. Well, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. I'll send it. I'll figure out how to get this mouse working. I'm not like I fuck technology.
Well, we'll
man.
just do like flight with Adam,
Yeah. Well, that was my speaking series when I was traveling with the Fit Expo. Was fight or flight. I love jumping. So like teaching jumping or just jumping in general is a lot of fun.
Cool.
So like leaping in the air and doing stuff and like throwing your body in weird ways. Not like overly like gymnastics-y, but it's fun just to kind of jump in the air and be free.
Totally.
Yeah.
Where can people find more about you? Where are all the websites? I got a feeling you got a couple.
Well, there's there's earntheday.com where you can buy a dope Earn the Day shirt, and check me out. Support the cause. No, so support my children. They need toys, food.
No, seriously.
No, seriously, guys. I'm broke. No, I'm just kidding. Check out Earn the Day, and check out drinkstrongcoffee.com. That's where we're gonna have the initial landing page. We're doing a huge giveaway. Like this whole training set with, a duffel bag loaded with brand new Nike Metcons to, a jump rope and all this great shit. Lifetime supply of strong coffee. And then we're doing 2 follow-up prizes. And, follow us at Strong Coffee Company. And also at Von Rothfelder, where I'm at. I'm not too big with like online training or any of that type of stuff, but I do love helping people. Like if they reach out to me, it's not like I'm creating these. It's not like I've been doing online training in any way. I like the in-person stuff, but I never turn down a question. So if people hit me up on Instagram or whatever, I love the engagement.
Oh, thanks for joining us today. And Anders, what are you up to? Tell the people.
Come to movement-rx.com. Dr. Teresa Larson and I putting together movement, strength and conditioning, and physical therapy, helping gym owners, their members, functional fitness athletes, healing from shoulder, knee, low back pain, doing it in a manner that keeps you in the gym, keeps you healthy, keeps you moving well.
Sounds cool. What is that again?
Movement-rx.com.
Got it. Movement-rx.com.
Douglas.
Yeah. I got a fun side project I'm working on right now, DougLarsonFitness.com. If you just want my thoughts on training, if you think that we could be a good fit to work together, you want to come to any of my live events, I got seminars coming up and other similar fun things in 2018. So you can go to DougLarsonFitness.com, or if you want to reach out to me directly, probably the easiest thing is just to DM me on Instagram, Douglas E. Larson on Instagram.
It goes down in the DM.
Don't make it weird.
Just don't send any dick pics.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to until you put that in their mind. Now I'm going to get a flood of dick pics.
Put that in the show notes.
Any dick pic I get is Adam Saul.
That's right. But there's a
Follow
template.
Doug here. He will accept dick pics.
There's a template for it. Yeah.
I have gotten a dick pic before on accident. They got texted to me, and then they called me, and I didn't pick it up. And then I texted them back, and they said, "Who is this?" I said, "This is Doug. Who's this?" And they just said, "Oh."
That's great.
You're like, shit. All right.
I'm not going to let you serve your own sake. What do you got going on next, Mike?
All right. Actually, I've got a really great show called The Bledsoe Show. So go over to thebledsoshow.com or just look me up on iTunes, Stitcher, all that mess. Having lots of cool conversations over there. And I'll be doing some live events this year. As you heard, doing a retreat, which you can sign up. It'll be an application. You can apply for the Medicines of Mexico. And
do you have a move guy coming with you, or what? I mean,
I've got like 5 mover guys.
Yeah, good. We could all collaborate. Yeah. We could all collaborate and do something fun.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm also doing some seminars. We're calling it Flow Stated. So repatterning your breath, movement, and language. We're gonna have a good time.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. If you enjoyed this show,
that sounds like some human garage shit.
Yeah. Well, not really.
Yeah, but you know what I mean, like in the.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not at all.
It's like everybody who's talking to each other.
Right.
We're all doing the same thing, but from our own.
Yeah, no, I don't mean it
It's really
sounds
good.
like something Human Garage does. It's just like, just kind of how we're all on this trend.
It's a deeper level shit.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, okay, what are we gonna? We're gonna get down to the root of what's really going on.
Yeah.
What's really keeping you from getting the results you're wanting to get. What's really actually the reason you can't stop eating donuts.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
So we're gonna nail that down nice and tight for you. Plus, you're gonna learn some breath techniques that'll actually make every workout you do better. If you do breath work before, and I've got special techniques for that, then you're gonna actually notice that your aerobic capacity and your focus go through the roof.
That's cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. So
Nice, dude.
yeah.
Sounds like it's going to be a good year.
Great year. Yeah.
2018.
Did I already say for people to go to iTunes?
We need some 5-star
Not
reviews.
yet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Go over to iTunes, 5-star review, positive comments,
Only.
subscribe, and give us a subscribe over on YouTube too. We're always putting up some cool videos. Later.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the show. If you liked the show, which I know you did, please go share it on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever social media channel you happen to be loving at the moment. Pinterest, Twitter, Tumblr. Share it on Tumblr.
Next on Barbell Shrugged, we talk about the myths of lactic acid and muscle soreness with Dr. Eddie Joe.